Hello and welcome to the Commander's Quarters, your Magic the Gathering source that helps you command your budget. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all their support. Hey everyone, Mitch coming in from the Commander's Core studio. Welcome to the show. So first up, as this episode is a Break the Bank, if you haven't already seen the deck tech on Prossh, make sure you check that one out first, because this episode's gonna make a lot more sense if you do. On this episode, I'm gonna be talking about adding in some upgrades to that original deck, so yeah, if you haven't seen it, please go check it out. Regardless, that episode as well as this one come to you courtesy of Thomas, who's been supporting this channel as a Golden Pig tier patron. And I really couldn't do this without the support from amazing patrons like Thomas, so again, Thomas, thank you so much. Regardless, just a quick overview of that deck tech. Thomas wanted a Prossh deck that was focused on Kobold and Kher cards. Prossh is a 5/5 flying dragon for 3 black, red, green. It has, when you cast Prossh Skyraider of Kher, create X01 red Kobold creature tokens named Kobolds of Kher Keep, where X is the amount of mana spent to cast Prossh. And by sacrificing another creature, Prossh gets +1/+0 until end of turn. So essentially, the more times that you cast Prossh, again with that commander tax, the more kobolds you're going to get out of it. And this is of course a fantastic free sacrifice outlet that can get huge and take your opponents out with commander damage, or you can just gain a lot of value through other things by sacrificing your creatures. But again, you should already know all this if you watch the actual deck tech, and if you haven't, please stop and go do that first. Regardless, assuming that you've actually watched the deck tech, let's jump into what cards we're going to be adding in this upgrade. And the first upgrade that I most definitely want to add into this deck is Chatterfang Squirrel General. Chatterfang is currently a $5.29 card, so it's not the most expensive card out there, but it's definitely not cheap either. It's a 3/3 Squirrel Warrior with Forest Walk that costs 2 and a green. It says if one or more tokens would be created under your control, those tokens plus that many 1/1 green squirrel creature tokens are created instead. And on top of that, by paying a black, you can sacrifice X squirrels and target creature gets +X, -X until end of turn. Chatterfang can actually really help out a Prossh deck in a lot of ways. First up, this essentially just doubles up all of your token production by giving you a squirrel for every single token that you make. So when you cast your commander and you make a bunch of kobolds, you also get a bunch of squirrels. In fact, the exact same amount, and again, Prossh is going to give you more and more with the more times that you cast it and the more amount of mana that you pay for it. And getting twice as many tokens is never a bad thing, especially when you can utilize those tokens in some fantastic ways with that ability on Chatterfang. By paying a black, you can sacrifice any number of squirrels, and again, target creature gets +X, -X until end of turn. So obviously you can utilize this to take out your opponent's creatures by sacrificing your squirrels. And if you really want to, you can pump other creatures as well with this, though that's probably not going to be what you're doing most of the time because Prossh can already pump itself. Regardless, yeah, Chatterfang is a fantastic inclusion, and with the upgraded budget, $5.29 is easily doable. But next up, let's talk about another mass token generator with Endrixar Master Breeder coming in at $2.65. Endrixar is a 2/2 human wizard for 4 and a black. It says whenever you cast a creature spell, put X11 black throw creature tokens onto the battlefield where X of that spell's converted mana cost. And then whenever you control 7 or more thralls, sacrifice Endrixar Master Breeder. Now the thing is with Prossh, you pretty much are never going to have 7 or more thralls, so you can just keep this in play. Because again, if you've got some thralls in play and you're about to cast a creature spell, well, you can just sacrifice any number of creatures to your commander and make sure that you don't hit 7. So whenever you're casting your commander, you're not necessarily doubling up on your tokens, except for the first time, but yeah, still getting 6 thralls every single time you cast your commander is pretty fantastic, on top of all the other thralls that you're going to be getting for the other creatures that you cast. So yeah, this mass token generator can be fantastic, especially with a commander that can sacrifice freely. But next up, let's move on to one creature that can actually make a lot of creatures on its own with Mitotic Slime. It's a 4/4 ooze for 4 and a green that says, when it dies, create 2/2/2 green ooze creature tokens with, when this creature dies, create 2 1/1 green ooze creature tokens. Essentially, this is 7 bodies in 1. And again, with some things in play that benefit from our creatures dying in a free sacrifice outlet like our commander in play, this can generate us an absurd amount of advantage all just from one card. You know, on top of by on its own pumping our commander for 7 when we sacrifice all those oozes to it. But now let's move on to Impact Tremors, which can be an incredible card in this deck that can really help us finish off our opponents quickly. Though it's just a common, it's currently a $2.56 card, and yeah, I hope they reprint this one soon to drop that price down. Regardless, with that upgraded budget, we can afford it, and yeah, this is a fantastic card. It says, whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, Impact Tremors deals 1 damage to each opponent. Again, this commander and many cards in this deck excel at making a lot of creature tokens, so we just get a lot of creatures out and ping our opponents down very quickly. I mean, even just the first time that we cast our commander, we get obviously our commander and 6 tokens. So yeah, 7 bodies in total. That's 7 damage per opponent for a total of 21 damage from this 2-mana card. And then every single time we cast our commander afterwards, again with that extra commander text, we're getting more tokens and more damage. So yeah, for this deck's purposes, with an upgraded budget, Impact Tremors is well worth it. And speaking of well worth it, we've got an even more expensive card with Beastmaster Ascension that comes in at $8.72. It's an enchantment that costs 2 and a green. It says, whenever a creature you control attacks, you may put a quest counter on Beastmaster Ascension. And as long as Beastmaster Ascension has 7 or more quest counters on it, creatures you control get +5/+5. On its own, our commander again makes 6 tokens the first time that we cast it, so we get 7 creatures in total in play. If we just attack with our commander and all of our kobolds, then yeah, they're all getting +5/+5, and so is every other creature that we have. So our commander essentially becomes nearly a 2-shot kill just from that, and again, our kobolds, going from 0 power to 5 is incredible. So all of a sudden, our tiny kobold army isn't looking so tiny anymore. But yeah, the price of this card keeps creeping higher and higher, but for this deck's purposes with an upgraded budget, it's gonna be worth fitting it in. Speaking of which, there's Blood Artist, who I cannot believe the price right now is $6.89, so yeah, Wizards, please reprint this card. Regardless, Blood Artist is a 0/1 vampire that costs 1 and a black. It says whenever it or another creature dies, target player loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. With our commander being a free sacrifice outlet and having a lot of tokens in play, we can drain an opponent out in absolutely no time with this. And again, keep in mind this counts all creatures dying, including our opponent's creatures too, so if someone wraths, they're gonna get drained for quite a bit too. Regardless, the price tag of this card saddens me a bit, but yeah, in an upgraded budget, we're gonna be including it. Now though, let's move on to a newer Blood Artist type effect, or should I say Zulaport Cutthroat type effect with Bastion of Remembrance. It's an enchantment for 2 and a black, and it says when it enters the battlefield, create a 1/1 human soldier creature token. But more importantly, whenever a creature you control dies, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. So that creature token is nice, and obviously we're going to sacrifice it for a lot of value with this kind of a deck, but most importantly, whenever we sacrifice any creature, we're going to be draining our opponents. And again, whereas Blood Artist is more of a targeted approach on one opponent, this one just drains out all of our opponents. Though, keep in mind this doesn't count our opponent's creatures, but still can be incredibly impactful. But now let's move on to a very different card, and one that is fantastic in this deck as well, with Lightning Greaves. It's an equipment that costs 2 and it costs 0 to equip, and it says equip creature has haste and shroud. Giving our commander haste can help us kill with commander damage out of nowhere, so yeah, that's very important, but more importantly, Shroud protects it from everything essentially. Well, okay, everything except for wraths, but yeah. So this protects our commander in a fantastic way and also helps to get through, so yeah, for $8.29, this is an upgrade that we're gonna have to sneak in. But perhaps an even more impactful upgrade is Skull Clamp. And though this card has had quite a few reprints, it still costs $6.34. It's an equipment for 1 and it has equip 1. Equip creature gets +1, -1, and whenever equip creature dies, draw 2 cards. Again, the kobolds that our commander makes are 0/1, so by paying 1 to equip this to it, they're gonna die. So again, because of that, this is essentially just, hey, pay 1 mana, lose 1 of your small creatures, and draw 2 cards, and yeah, that's a trade I'll make any day of the week. Again, even just by casting our commander that first time, we're getting 6 creature tokens. So then by paying 1 mana for each of those creatures and essentially moving it from creature to creature to creature, we're going to be drawing 2 cards per each creature, and yeah, that's 12 cards just right there. Yeah, there's a reason that Skull Clamp is quite expensive. Next up though, we've got yet another way to draw a ton of cards with Plumb the Forbidden, which is currently $1.93. It's an instant for 1 and a black, and it says, as initial cost to cast this spell, you may sacrifice 1 or more creatures. When you do, copy this spell for each creature sacrificed this way, you draw a card and you lose 1 life. So for just 2 mana, we can essentially sacrifice a ton of creatures and draw a lot of cards. Yes, we will lose a lot of life as well, but that's going to be well worth it. 1 life for 1 card in Commander is definitely going to be fine with me. Regardless, now let's move on to our final upgrade with Kessig Wolf Run. Kessig Wolf Run currently comes in at $1.43, and it's a land that can tap for a colorless, but more importantly, it has pay X, red, green, tap, target creature gets +X/+0 and gains trample until end of turn. You know how I said that our commander can easily become a one-shot kill? Well, this can definitely help. Flying can usually get it through, but that trample is a nice additional effect, and of course, pumping it by a ton can also really help us out as well. And again, as this just takes up a land slot, it can be a very fantastic upgrade. But now that I've talked about what's going in with our upgrades, let's quickly talk about what's going out. First up, since we added in some fantastic token generators, let's take out some other token generators that aren't quite as fantastic, though they are very effective on a budget. Our upgraded ones are, well, more impactful. So we're going to be taking out Spreading Thrynax, Arrest of the Endless Web, and Phyleth World Sculptor. Again, these are by no means bad cards, and again, none of the cards that we're taking out are, but the upgrades are just better. Or at least I should say they're just better for this deck's purposes. Regardless, next up, we added in some finishers as well, so we're also going to be taking out Ogre Battle Driver and Warstorm Surge. Each of these most definitely can make an impact and has its place in the budget version of this deck, but with our upgrades, we just have more effective finishers like, again, Impact Tremors and Blood Artist, etc, etc. So again, because of those upgraded win conditions that we're adding in, we're also going to be taking out Falkenrath Noble and Kardur Doomscourge. That name is really hard to say, and I always slip on it. Kardur Doomscourge, there we go. We're also going to take out a protection spell like Demonic Vigor because, again, we added in Lightning Greaves, which is just superior in a lot of situations. On top of that, with the upgrades of Skull Clamp and Plumb the Forbidden, we're also going to be taking out Catacomb Sifter and Season of Growth. Each of these are great at scrying, but though scrying isn't card advantage, it is card selection, and I'll take the card advantage spells like Skull Clamp and Plumb the Forbidden, which are fantastic in this deck. And of course, finally, since we added a land in, we're going to be taking one out, and in this case, we're going to be taking out one mountain. Regardless, now that we've talked about what's in and out of the deck, let's talk about the price of the deck. The estimated cost of this upgraded deck comes to $201.85. And again, if you've seen the actual deck tech on Prossh, you'll know why this deck is quite expensive, because again, it's utilizing some of those Kobold cards like Roga, which is, well, over $85. So even just by taking that out, you can get this price down to a more reasonable amount, or at least I should say a more reasonable amount for an upgraded budget. And with that, the show is coming to a close, so it's my turn to hear from you. So in the comments below, let me know your thoughts on this episode are, and as always, thanks again and have a good one.